Welcome back to another episode of the Casey Campbell podcast. Casey Campbell with you, of course, pleased to be joined by Eric Schugars, the head football coach at Traverse City Central. Eric, how are you?
I'm doing great, Casey. It's football season, man. We're ready to go.
Yes, it is. And yes, I will be in just a little under a week's time. I'll be shouting game day in all of your feeds. So there we go. Eric, so going into this season, how has it been the first few weeks, and then just
It's been great. A lot of great energy. We got a young group, and we got a good mix of juniors and seniors. And we've had a great summer and great commitment out of our players. And so when you get to practice, it's that first week and 2 days. I had 6 straight days of practice, 1 day off, and then we're back at it. And then finally this week, you get a scrimmage, you get to hit someone else. So that was fun yesterday. And now we told our players after practice and film today, it's on to a game week. You know your opponent, and now it's time to get ready.
All right. So going into this season, what do you really for people that didn't follow you guys last year, really kind of recap last year?
Recap last year. Last year was the year we followed up with the run to the state finals in 2021, and the expectations were, man, you got to do it again, right? And so last year's squad. We had the first time in the Saginaw Valley, a senior-led team a little bit with out of the quarterback and running back position. And so, and our conference was different, obviously with the Saginaw Valley, but our non-conference was different is what I meant to say. So we had a tough schedule. At the beginning of the year last year, we opened with St. Joe. We beat St. Joe, and they went on to be 8-1 and win the playoffs. And then we had Lapeer and Davison, and then we got the Saginaw Valley champions back-to-back in weeks 4 and 5, and Mount Pleasant, Midland. So that first 5-game stretch was pretty tough, and then we righted the ship, and then we made the playoffs, and we kind of ran into some injuries and got beat by a good Mona Shores team. So we're kind of on the heels of that. The expectations around here is you make the playoffs and you compete for conference championships, and so our players understand that, and we're excited about that opportunity again.
All right. Let's talk about some of the returning guys you have coming back and some of the guys to watch.
Yeah, he starts usually in the offensive line. Our Anderson Farmer is a left tackle for us, and he's kind of one of those. As far as the offensive line, he's one of the guys we're expecting to be the key returner there on both offensive line and defensive line. Conrad Dobrev, who's pretty much a jack of all trades. He played guard for us last year. He's going to play H-back and linebacker for us this year, and he can play tight end, but he can also jump back into a guard role. So, he's another senior leader in Braden McCoon, a guy that played quarterback, center. It's funny. Last year we had a guy that, had played center, and they had to flip the jersey on and play quarterback in case. It was kind of one of those situations last year, and he's that type of player. And then we have some other seniors kind of filling in the spots there. And we got a junior competing at quarterback. Drew Zrimick has done a great job. He was a JV starting quarterback, and he's really competing. He's probably going to win the varsity job come Friday night. So we're really excited about those group of guys. And there's a lot of guys to name, as we mentioned, and we're going to have some sophomores up as well. And it's just a group of kids, and it's a good mix of seniors, juniors, and sophomores, and they're a fun group to coach. As coaches done with practice, and we're excited about the growth and being around the kids. That's a great feeling.
What are some positions to really watch, position groups to really watch for your team this year?
I would say, we kind of got that. Some of our H-backs and tight end positions, those are just tough kids that can make plays for us. And we got a couple guys on the edges. We got hit with the injury bug this summer, and typically you want to wait till the season. You hear about that in the season, guys get injured, but we had some nagging things happen. We had a kid break a leg in a 7-on-7. And so, I looked at the scrimmage the other day, and there was 8-9 guys sitting on the sideline. They weren't able to scrimmage, and hopefully we can get all those guys back. So there's a lot of players, on the edge that I'm just waiting to get healthy. We got a good, split end receiver we're working on, Scott Goodwin, throw the ball to, and then a couple other guys. Glenn Moore is a returning senior for us, and he's just kind of one of those steady eddies at corner and slot. And our running back, we got to replace Reed Seabase, who was a conference player of the year last year in the Saginaw Valley. Just a great young man who's off to Elma, and he'll do great things there. So we got to replace him at running back. And so we got, Arthur McManus, a junior, stepping in there, and I got a couple other guys competing to get some carries. And so, one thing about our team is we're a pretty dynamic offense, and we got great offensive coordinators, and they work extremely hard to get our kids the ball, the kids that need the ball. And so, and this is the kind of year where we're going to spread the ball around. So when you say, hey, there's this playmaker, that playmaker, there's going to be a lot of different names out there where we're trying to get those guys the ball and get them in space. And that's what we're trying to do.
All right. We've talked about the kids. Now let's talk about the schedule. As you said, it's a pretty good one. Of course, starting it off at home against Plymouth, a team I'm very familiar with being in the KLAA. So they're coming up to play you guys. And on September 1st at Lapeer, September 8th home against Davison, September 15th home against Mount Pleasant, September 22nd at Midland, September 29th at Midland Dow, October 6th at a home against Bay City Central, October 13th home against Bay City Western, and then finishing out the regular season, October 20th at Traverse City West. So that's a pretty good schedule there, and it's always interesting in the Saginaw Valley League.
It is. We were talking about that this year again. It's from top to bottom. It's pretty evenly matched, and there's a lot of talent there. And if you kind of look at last year a little bit, I mean, it was two teams tied for the conference championship. Both teams had a loss, and hopefully that's the case again. I mean, I don't think, if you look at our conference schedule, I mean, one team is going to go undefeated. I mean, we'd love to go undefeated and win the conference. But if you look top to bottom, there's going to be a lot of week in and week out. You're going to have tough opponents, and that's one thing we kind of learned last year too, stepping into that conference, and we're excited about that opportunity though.
All right, so go into next week, getting ready for a really, really tough Plymouth team. What do you really want to see out of these guys as we head into that week?
Well, one is just playing at home in the home opener, and it just bringing energy and matching the physicality. I mean, I watched them on film from last year, and I just saw a little bit of the scrimmage film on Plymouth. They got some talented kids. They got a returning quarterback back. I mean, they have some athletes run. So, our guys got to step up. They understand that, it's a Division I team from downstate coming up here. We got to certainly ready ourselves for that and for that competition. And, we walked away from the practice today and said, hey, guys, this is the fun part of it. You have one opponent, you're playing. Plymouth's coming up here. And it's a trip, for them, 3.5 hours, 4 hours. I mean, they don't ever make that trip. So I know it's going to be an experience for them, but like we told our kids, though, it's a great test starting out of the gate. And our goal is, we want to put ourselves in an opportunity to be 1-0 after week 1, just like they do.
All right. Eric, thanks so much for coming on and talking to us, and best of luck this coming season for the Trojans.
Casey, I appreciate it, and I appreciate your support and high school football, and go Trojans.